In this video, I'll show you multiple ways in which you can document a patient who has experienced an infusion reaction in OPIS. The first way, we'll go through the MedAdmin screen. So we'll navigate to Systemic Therapy, Medication Administration, select the patient identification and treatment datum of interest, navigate to our Drug Details tab. So let's say we'd like to document an infusion reaction for rituximab. Firstly, we need to show that the medication was in fact administered, as we can only document infusion reactions for doses marked administered in the system. So let's say for rituximab, the patient experienced an infusion reaction, but was still able to receive the entire dose eventually. So in that case, the dose will be the full order dose. We will select admin, and we'll document the full time of the dose and hit save. We'll go back to our Drug Details tab, and the administered dose of rituximab moves to the top of our screen. Now you'll note that the line is highlighted in green to identify it has been marked as administered, and down at the bottom we now have an infusion reaction button that is retrievable. So what we'll do is we'll hit the infusion reaction button, and that pulls us over to the infusion reaction documentation screen. So since we were already on the treatment date of March 9th and had selected the drug rituximab, you'll see that those fields already pre-populate for us. And here we can document what symptoms the patient experienced. And we can also associate a grade. Here we'll select grade 2, which most closely represents what happened to the patient. You can scroll over to see the full text. And OK. We'll also hit save and exit. And if we go back to our treatment tab and reload the patient's chart, you'll now see in the Drug Details tab a red flag next to rituximab, which in the legend down below indicates that the patient now has an infusion reaction documented for that drug. What if we want to document an infusion reaction for a medication in which the patient didn't receive the entire dose after the infusion reaction occurred? Let's use the example of cyclophosphamide. So in this case, the patient was ordered 1,400 milligrams. Let's say an infusion reaction happened around 50% of the dose being administered. What we should do in this case is document only the amount that was administered to the patient. And by doing so, we'll select our dose field, and we'll change the dose from 1,400 to 700 and hit save. Here we have to indicate a reason why we've done this. So let's say in this case the patient experienced nausea and vomiting. And save. Now when we come back to our Drug Details tab, we see the cyclophosphamide dose has also risen to the top, and the dose administered is now 700 milligrams as opposed to the 1,400 milligrams ordered. Now that the dose has been marked as administered in the system, you'll note the infusion reaction button is now retrievable. So if we choose this button, we say and we associate a grade. In this case, the patient was not able to complete their treatment after the infusion reaction occurred, so we'll choose prolonged. And save. Exit. Reload the patient's chart. Now when we come back to that screen, we can see that cyclophosphamide also has an infusion reaction associated. What if we would like to see these infusion reactions as another user outside of the MedAdmin screen? From our main OPIS window, you can see now in clinical information, there is a new field at the bottom of the list called infusion reaction. By doing this, you can see the patient's profile that we were currently reviewing is automatically pulled up, and you can see the full documentation that we had just entered under our MedAdmin screen. So this information can be viewed by any user in the system. As you can see, if we have text that's longer than the box, if we select the full symptom text button, we can see everything that's written. We can also view the infusion reaction flag from the chemo order history and order entry screens. If we select the order details for this regimen, you can see now the infusion reaction button is also retrievable and viewable here in this screen, so that any user, pharmacists, physicians, nurses, can quickly identify a patient who's previously had an infusion reaction to a drug and can always go back to the clinical infusion reaction screen to see full details.